welcome to Fridays with Foster. I am your host, Foster. So, hope everybody's having a great morning so far. Some good news. I didn't bring the bag with me, but today uh, we are going to try the latest in the Pete's Organic Coffee subscription, Ethiopia Hambala Farm Organic. So, I will pour a bit and we will see how this tastes. Extremely hot, so I'm going to read for a minute. It's a single origin Ethiopian organic coffee, and it brims with floral and citric notes like a glass of lavender lemonade with a subtle spice thrumming beneath. Ooh, that's quite a description. I want to meet whoever writes these descriptions. That's great, man. I definitely don't know well enough, nor do I have the adjectives necessary to write descriptions for coffee. I just absolutely love how it tastes. But I'm trying to get better working with my ability to differentiate notes and stuff like that, if anybody cares on this call. I had a friend of mine, I think I might have mentioned before, he actually said, he enjoyed coffee with Foster. I said, it's actually Fridays with Foster. I said, but I'll take coffee with Foster. That's all right. Okay, the roast, so it's a dark roast. Brightness is all mid to high, and it is a mid to full body. Ethiopia this is the story behind it. Ethiopia is more than the birthplace of coffee. Producers there have been farming organically since before organic certification was conceived. You could say they were doing organic before it was cool. Hambala Farm sits in the heart of some of Ethiopia's best coffee country. So, yeah, let's see what happens. So just to go back again and see, what am I looking for? Floral and citric notes like a glass of lavender lemonade. Okay. Wow. I've never had a glass of lavender lemonade. It's actually pretty close, I would assume. Very interesting. I definitely taste the floral. Hey guys, girls, maybe I'm getting better at this. I taste the floral notes. All right, well, there we have it. So we're growing here on Fridays with Foster. Isn't that special? So today we are going to talk about the difference between confidence and ability. There's a reason that I'm bringing this up. I had a call with a coaching session with a client earlier this week, and this person is really smart, way smarter than me, has a ton of experience, and they found themselves in a position where they were coming into a company where they didn't want to kind of overshadow the tradition and the history of the organization or their predecessor. So when they came in, which was ironically at the beginning of the pandemic, he was very reserved about what his initial actions were going to be and what he was going to say and do, and wanted to kind of sit back and observe and not ruffle too many feathers. And part of it, understandably so, was learning the ways of the company, the processes, the culture, things like that, before just coming in and imposing his will. So I can understand that. And it was during the pandemic, so everything was, out the window. And there was a lot of uncertainty, as everybody on this watching this knows, and in uncertainty even in what would reasonably be certain situations where we could have certainty, and we did have an understanding of what was going to happen. So anyway, what ended up happening now? Fast forward about a year, and what happened is this individual actually started regressing to a place of a frustration and ultimately a lack of confidence. And it was about a month ago, we were on the call, and I said to them, so my communication style, and I keep saying I'm going to go through this, and I will. I will break out DISC assessment: dominant, influential, steady, and critical thinking. I'm mainly a high D. I'm an IDDI, right? So I can be very direct, and I think I do it in a caring way when I have the credibility to do so and the trust with my clients. And I just remember saying, well, you know what you want to do. I said, why in the heck aren't you doing it? And it's so funny that it's all about the timing, right? And the timing of that question and where this person was with their current dissatisfaction was right. And he told me that since then, pretty much every single week when we get back together for coaching for our session, he says, you've been in my head all week. I keep thinking about what you said. Why am I not just doing it? I know what I'm doing. And I'm reminding them that's why they were hired, because they know what they're doing. They were having a crisis of confidence. So more recently, what the question back in the difference between a certain level of ability and their confidence in doing so. So we'll start with a quote from Mark Twain. All you need in this life is ignorance and confidence, and then success is sure. So for all you business owners out there, you know you've got to have equal parts motivation, inspiration, and little insanity to jump out there and start a business and do these things that a lot of people look at they could never do. So that's where that ignorance part comes in, is not thinking you can fail, right? And then another wonderful quote by Norman Vincent Peale: without a humble but reasonable confidence in your own powers, you cannot be successful or happy. I love the second part of that, the or happy, because I think a lot of us will separate business accomplishments and other accomplishments from happiness or joy, or whatever you want to call it. A lot of people say joy is consistent and happiness is fleeting, but we're not going to parse that right now. But the idea is that I've got to have a certain level of confidence if I'm going to be happy, if I am going to be successful in my endeavors, in my relationships, in my parenting, right? So ability is, so this is the first part of the lesson. Ability is necessary, but it is not sufficient. The ability to do something, the qualifications, the skills, that in many aspects is a necessary aspect of doing something, or if you're trying to learn something, the ability to get to that point, but it is not sufficient. So ability is defined as talent, skill, or proficiency in a particular area. Okay, one more time. Ability is talent, skill, or proficiency in a particular area. Confidence, on the other hand, confidence is a feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities and qualities. One more time. Confidence is a feeling of assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. The word that I like in there is appreciation. To appreciate something, it's having a certain gratitude and acknowledgement for my capabilities. So I think it's important when we look at how we feel about what we do and what we know about what we can do and how well we can do it. This client got caught up in having a lack of confidence, and unfortunately what they did was they actually turned that into, in their mind, a lack of ability, when that was not at all the case. They still had the same level of ability, but because they hadn't kind of exercised that muscle, it atrophied, right? The abilities, you forget about it, kind of like if you play an instrument or if you play a sport and then you don't do it for a long time, that atrophies, but the muscle memory is still there. A lot of times you just have to build it up. Now, we're not talking about something that completely went away in this individual. It's something that they knew. They just had to hear it in a different way and realize that they were allowing their own personal judgment and their own confidence in the moment affect how they saw themselves at their level, at their ability level. And what they were doing is they started questioning themselves. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm happy. I don't know if I'm blah, 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 blah. And you definitely, you can't do it and won't be happy the way you're currently doing it, which is not taking action on the things you know you need to do and truly exercising the abilities for which you were brought into this position. So ultimately, the wake-up call for this individual was saying, you know, the difference here as I look at like motivation versus action, and we like to act our way into better thinking. Thinking our way into better actions doesn't always happen. I'll sit on the couch or just sit there and wait to be motivated, wait to be struck by inspiration. Doesn't really work that well, at least not for this guy. So what we like to do is we take an action, move a muscle, change a thought, right? Take an action, change a feeling. And so those actions are usually based on certain abilities that we have or things that we're growing into. So some of you who follow me personally know that I've been working out a lot at a CrossFit place called the Iron Tribe. Not that any of that matters. By the way, the reason that I post, I should say this, every post that we tag a specific tag, so this month is autism awareness, we contribute money, we contribute bricks, we contribute books, we contribute medicine, we contribute shoes as an organization overall. So I'm not out there saying I work out because I'm so great. Mainly what I'm saying is I'm still working out because I'm 47 and I've got a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old and I have to stay in shape because I have to be able to pick them up and throw them around. But anyway, the point being is there are certain things that, you know, I've got an ability level there, and I'm definitely not the strongest or the fastest or the best, but I've got a certain ability level that I've been building on over the last pretty much 3 years that I've been working out there. And so my ability may not be to accomplish a specific high level exercise, right? So there's one called over the bar chin-ups. So pretty much you're pull-ups. You're pulling yourself up and pretty much pulling yourself up to the bars to your waist, which is, I'm not there yet at all. But even to that point, at the beginning, I could hardly do a pull-up, right? So my ability level, it was getting there and I was growing. But what I did have is I had confidence in the fact that if I continued taking those small steps, I would be able to achieve something. So the actions that I took ultimately reinforced my confidence, okay? Action, feeling. So instead of getting down on myself that I could only do one, I got excited because I could do one. And I think this year my goal is to do 10 strict pull-ups. So just completely still, not kipping. But anyway, I hope I'll get there. I plan on it based on training for it. But it's the same thing in our businesses, in our lives, in our relationships with our kids. It's about the small, consistent steps that we take that reinforce the confidence that we have. If we don't take those steps, if we don't enact those activities and those actions, then motivation is going to be really difficult because motivation follows the action. Sometimes we need a little spark to kind of wake us up, and I'm trying to, wake us up to push us to do something or change something or finally reach a point of dissatisfaction that we actually make a move. But staying in that zone is really challenging. Sometimes we need to take an action regardless. A good friend of mine said once, don't let the don't let the feelings that you have prevent you from taking the actions that are necessary to change those feelings. I'll say that again. Don't let the feelings you have prevent you from taking the actions that are necessary to change those feelings. So, what I want you guys to look at is areas in your life that maybe you've lost some confidence, and sometimes all you need to do is take an action in that direction. Exercise an ability that you do have, used to have, or would like to have, and then slowly begin to build your confidence. But don't listen to your head when it starts telling you you can't do something simply because it's been a while, or because you've forgotten about it, or you don't have other people's validation. You have to start with your own validation. And that's what I'm trying to do with myself, with the pull-ups and with being a 47-year-old parent of little ones and all of these things and these challenges that we all have in our lives. I think that sometimes we just need somebody to remind us that it's okay to lift each other up and lift ourselves up. And I love reminding my clients a couple things. Number one, you're worth it. You're exactly where you're supposed to be today. And take it easy on yourself, because we're all pretty hard on ourselves and pretty critical. And this is not a dress rehearsal. Every now and then, sometimes we need to be reminded that we're doing all right. So if you're wondering how you're doing today, you're doing great. Doesn't mean we don't need to change, but it also doesn't mean we need to take the next 15 minutes or 15 hours beating ourselves up and being critical because we're not exactly where we think we should be. So I hope you have a wonderful day and a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks.